Hello tech lovers, you're probably wondering why I've started with a clip of a bouncing man. Well, I just thought it was a really good demonstration of my new gadget, the Ozbot Tail. So let's start right at the beginning. This was something I backed on Indiegogo. I think it's now available in stores. I thought I'd do a bit of an unboxing video. So I've been waiting for this for a while. Very excited to finally get it. Looking forward to really seeing what this thing can do, because as a YouTuber who has to move cameras around and get them into position, it'd be nice to have a little bit of AI help. So just going to take a quick look at the box and the unpackaging. So you can see, nice black box, red trim at the side. I've opted for the black version. Feel the magic of AI camera. That's what it says on the front. And then we have, oh, this is nice. I'm liking this. Travel case. Document wise then, quick start guide. And this will require an app, so I'll grab that in a minute. The Ozbot is a really nice looking bit of kit. You've got a main body section and a rotatable head that has a status light on it. Around the back you'll find the power in, that's a USB Type-C connection. There's the power button, and there's also the SD card slot for your memory cards. You can stand this up on its own. It's got a little grippy section on the bottom. It also has a standard tripod mount, so if you're not just plonking this down, you want to tripod mount it outdoors, you can do so very quickly and easily. That just rotates on. Powering on, you hold down the button. These little lights that are flashing are the battery indicator lights. When it powers on, you'll know it's on because you'll see the camera flick round towards you. It also has a status light at the top, so it's very easy to see what's going on, because when the camera is always facing you, this status light will always be in your field of view. At the moment you can see it's green, but that has different colours as well. It will change colours indicating different things. The main camera is completely rotatable 360 degrees. It's got the zoom lens on. You can see the specs there. It's 4 to 14mm, f2.4 to 5, and it does a really good job. This was the first time I had it tracking me, and so you can see I'm moving around, I'm filming with my mobile. We'll come back to the mobile application in a bit, but you don't actually need to be holding a mobile to use this. So I figured, let's see what this can do out in a larger environment, and maybe with someone who's a little bit quicker and nimble of foot. So I'm just heading to my bootcamp class early to see if I can rope my instructor in to do some crazy shapes and see if the camera can keep up with him. I've got this set up, it's tracking me, and I've got a lapel mic on because obviously if I want to move away, I still want you to be able to hear my audio, and that means I can move around, move back. I've got the mobile here so I can keep tracking to make sure that it is still following me and it's not having a problem. See, the Osmo, of course, fixed position, can't see me, you've got to pass in front of it, whereas this one is tracking me right the way around. In fact, if I could keep going around, you should see the Osmo. There's the Osmo. Say hello, Osmo. So there we go. So the good thing about this is that it doesn't matter where I am, as long as it's locked on me, I can get a good shot. So here's the setup we've gone for. You can see Max warming up. The Ozbot is there, just in fact it's a little bit close but not too much closer, but you can see the difference in the camera. It tracks Max really well. I'm not sure I've got the white balance quite right, it looks a little bit washed out, but I'm not controlling the camera at this point. This is tracking Max. It's zooming in a bit closer than I was with the action camera, and you can see wherever he's moving, it's rocking backwards and forwards as he moves side to side. Now you can increase and decrease the speed of movement, and you can see just there it zoomed in on him. That wasn't something I had asked it to do, it just recognised it needed to get a little bit closer. We were pretty impressed with this so far, and we thought we'd try out distance as well. So I asked Max in a second to go for a bit of a jog, see how far it would track him out. Now you haven't really got a sense of how far this is, but this is quite a large field. You can see it continues to track him all the way, and it tracks him all the way back. So here's my point of view with a little action camera, and you can see he's actually quite far away from the Osbot, but the zoom function is working really well. It's doing a great job of tracking his movements. I have to manually zoom in by running forwards. Second part of this test, we thought we'd test this tracking Max in a crowd. It does quite well to begin with because he's still clearly in view, so it's still tracking him even with all the other class members on screen. Where it gets a little bit confused is if he goes behind people. Remember, this is visually tracking him. He's not carrying anything to make him track this, and trust me, this exercise is much harder than it looks. So if you're watching a second, he'll go behind me, I'm watching the mobile to see what happens, and when I pop up, there you go, it's locked onto me instead. I'm having difficulty tracking when Max is in a large group, but I can manually do that by long pressing on the screen on the app, and then I can track, which obviously is no good if you're trying to do something on your own, but in a large group like this you just can't see him, it keeps locking onto closer people. You see here it's locked onto Fiona and Max is behind Fiona, so that's worth keeping in mind. I'm sure those of you into action will come up with a better use of the slow mode feature than this, but it's worth noting it can do slow motion at 1080p and 120 frames a second. When editing the footage, I then speed that up to give the normal speed section before allowing it to play at 120 frames, given the slow-mo effect. So what I'm enjoying about this little Osbot is I don't really need to worry about it. I can just get on with whatever it is I'm getting on with to film, and it will follow me about as I'm moving around. So right now I'm just setting up to do some more product reviews, setting up some filming, and you can see the camera is tracking me as I move around. But if this is not what you want at the time, if a moving shot isn't quite right for what you're doing, you can either via the app or via a hand gesture lock the gimbal in place and still move around, and again via a hand gesture you can unlock it. It's a really cool little system that means you don't have to have your phone or app on you. There's various other hand gestures that you can do that I'm still trying to get the hang of, but I find the hand gestures together with the app mean that this is a brilliant little system. So let's talk about the app. You saw on the field I had to manually intervene, and that was using the Osbot Companion app. It's very simple to set up. You have to connect to the camera's Wi-Fi first, fire up the app, and then it will automatically connect to the camera. It'll do a quick check to make sure you're using the latest firmware, and so far I've had to update mine twice. They've obviously just released this and getting a lot of feedback, and they're already working on new firmware and pushing that out. Once you're connected, you've got lots of features and functions that you can use your mobile for. So at the moment you can see, for example, that the camera isn't tracking me. I can simply tap the screen and now it will begin to track me. You can see that it's doing it in a rather slow manner. That's because I've not defined myself as the target. So if we simply click quick, now that I'm defined as the target, you can see it moves around much quicker. You do have control over the tracking speed, so I've got it set to normal. Let's first set it to crazy. So if you were moving around incredibly quick, you'd want this to be in crazy mode, but for most people that might be a little bit too severe. If we set this to lazy mode, you can see this will now be a much slower tracking. It doesn't jump around as much, it's not quite as severe, and that's a lot more suitable if you're only going to be doing slow movements, just generally walking about. It stops it from being quite so jarring as the camera moves around. And of course, if you don't want any movement at all, you can simply lock the camera in place. If when it's locked it's not quite the right position, you saw me do this just a moment ago on the field, you can simply long press and drag it around and get that camera positioned exactly where you want it to be. You also have manual control over the zoom. You can simply press in the little button there and you can zoom in up to 3.5 times, and there it's auto-focused onto my face. And again, let's zoom back out. You've also got custom gestures, so these allow you to control the camera without your phone. So if there's something you want to do quite a lot, so a zoom roll, for example, if I do this, you see it starts to zoom and roll in. If I do it again, it should zoom back out and return back to the normal position. So you can activate any of these as well just by dragging them over. If you didn't want to zoom, you just wanted a roll, it's not a problem. And you see it's activated straight away. And again, I just do that and take it off. There we go, now it's off. And you can see there's 3 gestures that you can customize. So there's a lot to like about this little camera. I'm finding it really interesting to use. It's given me a new range of motion that I wouldn't normally be able to get because I film on my own. Still getting the hang of it, as you can tell, still getting the hang of the gestures, still understanding what the little lights mean at the bottom of the camera. I need to learn when it's telling me it's recording, when it's not recording, and I've had to order an extra memory card because the one that comes with it is only 32 gig, and if you're going to be recording a lot of video footage, you're going to need something like a 128 gig card. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please support me by clicking subscribe, joining my tech tribe. I'll put a link in the description below about the Ozbot if you want to learn more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next review.